I'm 8 years old. I'm on a road trip with my dad, and I'm happy I'm riding up front. And after a while, we turn a corner, and there's this sign in the road, and I start asking questions. My curiosity is tinged with a little anxiety because even though I'm that young, I was allowed to stay up late not long before, and I'd seen this film. And so my mind is going through what on earth could be meant by heavy plant crossing. My dad explains that the word plant means lots of different things. It means the plant that I thought, the green things that grow. It can mean a factory. It can mean a big piece of equipment that sometimes crosses the road. So all's calm in the car. I think that was probably my first memorable encounter with the field of semantics, and it's a field that I've worked in ever since. I was asked to talk today about how taxonomy can be part of the user experience and how it can be part of search. And before we talk about using taxonomy to aid the discovery of information, should spend a minute to think about what discovery means. What does discovery mean in the natural world? I think in the natural world, it's the world of senses. It's the world of touching and feeling and smelling and a great deal of serendipity, a great deal of focusing in incredible detail on one thing and then zooming out to the big picture and then getting the next area of interest. And in terms of designing systems, because what all of us do, is this. We help to mediate the discovery of information. We are putting screens in front of people, and these screens are helping them to discover knowledge and to discover information, and we are the mediators. Now, as we mediate, we need to be mindful of, I think, the young child exploring and discovering. We need to provide signposts, good signposts, and guides, but we don't need to put straitjackets on people. I remember actually about a couple of months ago, my nephew and wife were visiting me with their little baby. I got them a puzzle, got the baby a puzzle, and she was happily playing on the floor with this, and the parents were there like, no, this isn't how you do it. Let me let me help you. It's like you want to allow for experiment and serendipity in any kind of knowledge discovery design. So I want to talk about 3 different ways of accessing information that are sort of fundamentally different. Search, and these are my definitions. You may have slightly different ones or big different ones, but these are mine. So search is always starting with a user's expression of what their question is, and it follows through an iterative process, typing in new keywords, typing in, scratching, trying something else. It's an iterative process, and it's user-driven from their statement. And then we have browse and navigation. And this is slightly different because it starts with a presentation of some kind of organized lists or graphs of related things. So these are abstracted out of the content behind them and presented in a way that the designer thinks is going to be a useful way to get access to that. And then we've got discovery. And I think discovery, for me, happens somewhere when the flow is interrupted. It could be the flow of a search, it could be the flow of a browse, but at some point there is an interruption in that flow and something new is discovered, an association, some kind of connection between something. So with search, we have disambiguation of some of the ways that taxonomy can help, because this was my brief, so I better stick to it. So taxonomy can help with the search aspect through the disambiguation of different meanings for the same word. It can expand a query by pulling in related concepts, synonyms, and so on. It can redirect a user, and it can provide filtering options such as faceted filtering. On the browse front, browse doesn't just mean files and folders and trees. It can be alphabetical lists, plain lists that are created for browsing. Hierarchical, it can be ranked, it can be visualizations, and so on. All of these are fundamentally the same thing, which is they are predefined ways to help people walk through and discover content. One of the things about browse is I would split this into two areas. There's the surfacing of associations. I'll just go there. Yeah, actually, that's mistitled. I was looking at that. That should be discovery. So discovery really splits into two types. Discovering associations. A is I was looking at A, and suddenly I find B and C, and they're also of interest. But there's also intersections, which is the discovery in an analytical way of the union of different pieces of knowledge or aspects of the content that's being looked at. I said there was only three, but there's really the fourth thing is the refinement, which is the iterative process when you extract taxonomy and metadata out of the content that's being looked at, and then that becomes refinement options for the user to select that requeries the database and pulls back a hopefully cleaner, more precise set of results, and that whole process can go through iteratively. So the key thing here is taxonomy isn't just about browsing. It's about, it adds value to all modes of information access, to search, to browse, and to discovery and refinement. In terms of user experience, there are sort of three modalities to user experience that one should be mindful when designing a system. I call them latent, modal, and interactive. So in the latent mode, we have all of the semantics going on behind the scenes. The user is not really aware of what's going on. We're trying to mask that. And that requires a great deal of knowledge about the users and the content to make the right assumptions about how to do that. It can be done, but it's not the only way of doing it. Mode 2 is the modal way, and this really breaks the flow of what the user is doing and says, hold on a minute, did you mean X or Y? It's good, but that business of interrupting the flow is in itself problematic, so it's certainly not my favored mode. And then we have an interactive mode where the systems are presenting discovery options passively. You let the user just get on with the flow of what they're doing, but you sidebar all of the additional options that the ontologies and the taxonomies are able to expose to them. And certainly, there's a place for all three of these. I kind of like the third one the best. My company, Synaptic, gets involved in helping other companies to develop tools and services to do the design of systems. So we're kind of involved in all of the process, and I kind of look at that going through the phase of the analysis and design and knowledge organization, which is the taxonomy piece, and then content enrichment, indexing, and so on, ending up with discovery. But it's a circular flow through all these processes. Now, at this point, in a 15-minute window, there's so much I wanted to talk about that I can't really talk about in a limited time. What I've done is we built a system, or we're building and refining a system aimed at the cultural heritage community, and we use all of the ways that I've described to use taxonomy to improve search, to improve browse options, to improve discovery. And I put together over this weekend a short video clip, and I'm just going to run it, give you a break from my voice, and what you'll see, I've flagged on the video, what you'll see there is taxonomy sort of in action in all of the ways that I've just described. So let me see if I can find. Here we go. Okay, thank you. So, I hope on your journeys you put taxonomy somewhere in the middle between your design and the search and discovery that you deliver to your users. Thank you for listening to me today. If you want to see that video, there's a link at synaptica.com/oasis. Thank you.